So yeah, guys, winter is upon us. Winter is coming. Winter is almost here. They say something like that in Game of Thrones. I don't know. I haven't watched that freaking dumb show. Just kidding, guys. I don't think it's a dumb show. I just haven't watched it. So I'm not here to critique stuff that I haven't watched. I'm here to talk about stuff that I have watched. Talk about movies that are good to watch during the winter time. Winter is almost here, and I think winter is the perfect time to watch movies. Watch your favorite movies too. Just during spring and summer, even fall, those are months where typically you're out more, you're out doing stuff more, just because of the weather, just because of other stuff. But the winter, those are dark times. It gets dark out more, and so typically, it can be a little depressing. But I think it's good to make the most of your inside time and watch some good stuff. So I'm going to be talking about movies that are good to watch during the winter time. These are stuff that I typically watch during the winter. But as well, it's good to watch stuff that you haven't watched too. So I think there will be definitely, I can't think of movies off the top of my head, but there's definitely movies on my watch list that I want to watch. I think it's good to, just watch different stuff. And as well, you have way more free time on your hand. That was kind of the intro I was trying to get at, is during the winter, you have more free time to just watch stuff. And so I think it's good to make the most out of it and watch enjoyable stuff, but also watch stuff that maybe would be tricky for you to watch during the summer months or something. I think a lot of times longer movies, those are movies that I hold back on, especially during summer, where it's just like you have to dedicate a lot of time. And I think with the winter, you're cooped up more and you can be like, okay, today's a day. I think it's also good. Winter is also good to kind of plan a day to either watch a bunch of movies or just to watch a long movie. I think that's also a lot of fun. Just to be like, yeah, today I'm going to dedicate a few hours to watch this movie. And then and sometimes it feels rewarding doing that. As well, during the winter, it's the perfect time to go to the movie theater more. That's right. I think making a little outing, making a little adventure out of seeing a movie. January and February are the weaker months during movie releases, so it could be trickier. And I think for me, I'm going to try and go to the movies more often during those months. Maybe rewatching stuff that had come out the past months, or sometimes they do a little, they show older movies at my theater. So I think it's good to do that, even if the movie itself doesn't look great, it's a movie to see. It's a little outing to do. So I think sometimes with that, it doesn't have to be a movie that you're like highly anticipating. It can be like, oh yeah, I'll just catch this. Okay. So I have a little bit of a list of stuff, a little bit of categorization here. Starting off with kind of more longer films, more immersive films that take place during the winter. Winter is a perfect time to watch movies that take place during the winter. I feel like it's kind of weird. Sometimes it feels a little off if you're watching a movie and the whole time it's taking place during winter and you're watching it in 30-degree weather. 30 degrees Celsius for my Canadian viewers. For the Americans, calculate that yourself, dipshit. Sorry. Didn't mean to call you guys dipshit. That's actually not a nice word. So longer, more immersive films that just kind of take you into the film, and it has a wintry feel. So Phantom Thread, it's been a couple years since I've watched it. I'm pretty sure that there's snow in it. I'm pretty sure it takes place during the winter. I think it takes place over the course of a little bit. But for me, it feels like a winter movie too. And also, more immersive films can be more slower paced, and I think it's good to just kind of immerse yourself in a slower pace. And as well, I didn't put on the list, but Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I just thought about this right now. I haven't watched it in a few years. I feel like that could also be a winter movie. I feel like that's a very beautiful and slow-paced film, but it's very immersive. And yeah, I'm going to probably add that to my winter watch list too. I haven't seen that in a bit. The Hateful Eight is also a pretty good film to watch during the winter, especially because it takes place during the winter. And sometimes when you're watching that kind of stuff, and these characters are out in the cold, and you're snuggled up in your little robe, you're snuggled up in your little blankie, and having some chips or something. No better feeling, man. But yeah, The Hateful Eight is it's not. I watched it for the first time last year, and I do like it. Probably won't rewatch it soon, but I'm glad that I watched it during the winter. The Revenant, that's one I haven't seen in a while too. These are just movies I haven't seen in a while, so maybe I shouldn't. I don't know why The Revenant is a freaking good movie, and it takes place during the winter, and it's similar to The Hateful Eight, where it's just these characters brutally in the brutal winter weather. That's what I meant to say. The brutal winter weather, and they're facing the cold conditions, and you're still snuggled up in your blankie. So yeah, Revenant is a pretty good movie, and it's also a more I think it's a longer movie, and it's more immersive with the world, and it's also like very immersive in the environment. You get really sucked into that. Eyes Wide Shut is also another long movie that is slower paced, but it's also very immersive, and it's also takes place during Christmas time. So also bonus points if a movie takes place around Christmas time and you're watching around Christmas time. I think that's also a big plus, because you're watching a freaking Eyes Wide Shut during July. I did that, and I regret it every single day. Why did I do that? Just kidding. You can watch that stuff during the summer. There's no rules. But yeah, bonus points if it kind of takes place during Christmas. I think for me, Christmas movies are cool. Christmas movies are in, but there is something about a movie that is not necessarily Christmas, but either takes place during Christmas or just has a Christmassy vibe, but it is its own movie that doesn't center around Christmas. I think that is what's in for this Christmas. And there's also some movies that I just have to watch during the winter time or around Christmas time. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is a huge one. That is one I feel like it would feel weird if you watch it during the summer. It's also slow. I was going to say slower pace. It's not necessarily slower pace. It's very dense. It's a very dense trilogy. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of characters, a lot of to take in. It's very immersive. And it's one of those trilogies that is perfect for watching during the winter time. And it has some sort of Christmassy feel to it. I think, as well, all of those movies got released during Christmas, so there's definitely some intention with that too. The Social Network, I just watched that around Christmas time. There's not really a specific reason. It's just, I think because it's one of my favorite movies, and I tend to watch it every year, and then it tends to be around fall or winter. So yeah, Snowpiercer is also a really good one. Good to watch during winter. Wintry vibes. And there's also you can watch kind of the movies that I've been talking about so far are more they're entertaining films, don't get me wrong, but sometimes during the winter you can't just watch slower paced, more dramatic stuff. You gotta mix it up, gotta watch some fun stuff. So don't worry guys, for the fun lovers out there, I got you covered. Fargo is a great one, takes place during the winter, and also Fargo the TV show. I've only watched season 1. Can't say too much about the rest of the seasons. If you guys have seen the other seasons, let me know. I heard season 2 is pretty good. It got Jesse Plemons in it. I love that guy. But yeah, Fargo the movie is a really fun movie and takes place during the winter, so gotta take advantage of that. Also, Misery, that's also a good one that takes place during the winter, and it's just kind of like a fun little thriller. Grand Budapest Hotel, Pretty sure that takes place a lot during the winter. And also, Wes Anderson is also a good director to get into during the winter. Just his movies have just a charming vibe to them, and sometimes that's what you need during the winter. Trying to think, there's not like a specific other movie of his that I can think of that would be perfectly suited for the winter. I think Grand Budapest is just kind of the top one. But I mean, Fantastic Mr. Fox, that's more fall, but you could definitely lean that towards winter for sure. You can kind of do that. His newer films, not necessarily winter. Royal Tenenbaums, maybe could watch that during winter, during Christmas. I think it has a really great themes of family and family dynamic, and sometimes during the winter or during Christmas months when you're around family or that's kind of relevant to you, sometimes that's good to watch. So maybe recommend that. Knives Out movies. Now it's a trilogy. Just recently saw the new Knives Out, which is awesome. Totally recommend if you love the Knives Out movies. First one will always be my favorite. Just really, really, really. I remember the first time I watched it and the first time I fell in love with it. And I rewatch it, and it's one of those movies you can just kind of keep rewatching, and even after a few watches, you kind of know, you can see how it got set up, and you learn about that. But it's still a fun, enjoyable movie, and the cast is great in that. I think I was gonna say that's the best cast in the Knives Out trilogy, but hey, the new one is crazy cast. Josh O'Connor's fantastic. Gonna recommend the new Knives Out. I think it comes out on Netflix too, so now it's like you have to watch it because it's coming out during Christmas time. Those movies the new one is like 2.5 hours long, so it is a longer movie. So it's the winter is definitely a perfect time to get into those movies. The second Knives Out, Glass Onion, feels less wintry, but you could still watch it during the winter. You could do a little, and I feel like it's one of those trilogies that would be fun to binge watch just because it's loosely connected, but there's still similar story structure and similar themes throughout all three that are consistent with each other. So there's consistency with that. Also, Shane Black movies, not all of them, of course, but there's a couple of them that are pretty good to watch during the winter because they also feel a little Christmassy. They take place during Christmas. This is kind of cheating, and I was on the fence to add this just because the main one that I love is like The Nice Guys, and then as well, The Nice Guys takes place in LA the whole movie, and but it only takes place during Christmas. That's kind of, actually, I don't even know if it takes place during Christmas. I think it literally just takes place during Christmas at the very end. So honestly, guys, just scrap that I said that Shane Black, because I don't even know. I mean, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang takes place during Christmas, but I don't even love that movie that much. I mean, this is just a slight recommendation. Don't heavily recommend. Don't listen to that, I guess. But Martin Scorsese, that is a director that is great to watch during the winter. Just because his movies can be slower paced, but they're very immersive with their characters. But depending on your mood, you can choose a more fun flick or a more grounded and moving film. There's two sides of the coin. Martin Scorsese, he has his fun little silly side. That was more during the 80s and 90s. And then when he gets to his, more methodical stuff in like the late 2010s and then leaning into the 2000s, both of those are great. But I think it's a director. He's a director that's great to get into during the winter months. I typically watch Goodfellas around Christmas time, and I think that's a movie that takes place around Christmas, so it's also good. Casino is also another. I feel like doing a double feature of Casino and Goodfellas is the move to go, and I think I have to do it this year. And yeah, Martin Scorsese is just a great director to get into during the winter months. His fun stuff, great to get into, but is also his newer stuff that feels more slower paced, but also more introspective. I don't know if that's the proper word, but it feels like he's tapping into a new thing at his age, which is great, and he's going in a more slower pace, but also more thoughtful direction. Not to say that his other movies, they didn't have any of that. I think just if you watch his older stuff from the 90s and then versus now, there is a difference. But yeah, like Killers of the Flower Moon, The Irishman, both really good movies that have a lot to say or just have a lot dwelling on their characters. I haven't seen The Irishman in a while, but I definitely do want to rewatch it. But Silence, that's also one of my all-time favorite Scorsese's, and I think that's one that's really thoughtful and thought-provoking and has a lot of interesting stuff to say. And as well, the performances are great. Super underrated Scorsese too. Silence is great. Go watch that. And as well, his films, like I'm saying, they can be like more reflective. And I think during the winter months, it's good to, just because it's at the end of the year or it's during the start of the year, whenever it is, December, January. And I think sometimes with that, you can be more reflective. Stuff kind of comes to an end, comes to a wrap. Everyone gets their Spotify Wrapped. Happy Spotify Wrapped, guys. Today's the day that it released. Congratulations. You got your music taste explained to you. But yeah, it's just you can be more reflective on the whole year. You kind of think about the whole year. And sometimes with movies, it's good to get in that headspace or just watch something that brings those ideas or brings what you're thinking to a film. So there's definitely great movies, and I listed a couple of them. Yi Yi is definitely a great movie. Also a great 3-hour movie that is good to watch during the winter months. But it takes I don't know how long it takes place, like the course of the movie, but it takes place over a bit, and then you're seeing like a big family, but throughout the movie they're focusing on different characters throughout the family, and then you're seeing their dynamics and you're seeing what character is going through. The story itself is simplistic, but I think what it does and how it really immerses you into these characters' lives is really cool and really interesting. And I think it's kind of the best to do that sort of style. So totally recommend. Lady Bird is also another one. This is more on the fun side, but it's also one that does feel reflective, and it takes place over the course of like a year or so. So it's going through different relationships and different dynamics that Lady Bird has. And I think it's one of those movies that, you can reflect and you can see parts of yourself in it, which I think is great. Good Will Hunting's another one that there's a lot of things that you can reflect on. I watched it fairly recently, and I still think it's a great movie. I think it does kind of hinder with it being a movie from the 90s. There is a little bit of cheese to it, a little bit of cheese with that. Hey, let me get a movie with a little bit of cheese. Can I get a little cheese on that side with that movie? No, it's a great movie, don't get me wrong, but it's also a movie of its time, so there is certain elements. And also the ending, I don't know about the ending, guys. I just feel it's a good ending, but it's also like, it felt like the movie was working towards something else. But, still think it's a great movie. But as well, there's also other movies that are more reflective, that are more maybe mundane, not as in your face crazy, or not as intense. But those are also great movies to watch just to get a different perspective. So yeah, like two movies that I think perfectly fit into that are very reflective. Patterson and then Perfect Days. Both P movies. Both are perfect movies. I don't think they're They're great movies. I'm not gonna say they're not perfect or not this. I think they're both great movies. Patterson, I haven't watched in a bit, but it's I think it's one of my favorites from Jim Jarmusch. But it's basically this guy played by Adam Driver. He's a bus driver, and his life is kind of boring. His life, it's a very mundane movie, but it kind of finds the joy and kind of romanticizes the mundane life or just the normal lifestyle. And I think Perfect Days does that in a more uh it's that message is spread across the whole film. Patterson is good, but Perfect Days really captures appreciating the mundane things in life and appreciating the normal things. And yeah, it's a movie that it made me really reflect on life and how you take life and how you kind of keep going. So I think that's really cool, and it's really cool to watch that stuff during the winter where it's you can be more reflective, and the days are kind of at a more slower pace, so it's good to take in that stuff. Yeah, I mean, you could also I think it's good to watch, binge watch series. This is the last note I'm ending on, but yeah, watch movies that you can kind of reflect on, um, and open yourself up to new movies as well. Foreign films, I want to keep getting at those. I kind of want to get into more stuff throughout the winter months. It's a perfect time to do that. Um, binge watching film series is good, but as well sometimes it's good to just binge watch like a director's filmography. Like go through, like, oh, you can kind of see similarities and differences and different types of tone and types of style that they're trying to go for. Sometimes it's really cool to do that. That's going to be my recommendations for you guys. If there's any movies you like to watch during the winter, let me know. And if you like my hat, thanks. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you.